Motley Crue rolled through Houston last week as they are out on tour with another mega band, Kiss. Very few musicians branch out from their profession. As you will see, bassist Nikki Sixx is the exception. Brian explains.
He's a legendary rock and roller. He's even a fashion designer, and yet he has his own radio show, Sixth Sense. Of course, I'm here with Nikki Sixx. How you doing?
How you doing? And I'm wearing a polo shirt.
You know what's funny? I was going to ask you a little bit about your fashion. I mean, what kind of led you to get...
This is just rolled out of bed fashion.
All right, well, you know, you are in Houston, and of course, you guys are part of the whole big Kiss tour. How's that going?
Kiss and Motley Crue, we sit down and we're like, this is two of the biggest productions out there in rock and roll. How can we both do it together? And the only way to do that is for everybody to work together. And really, we have one road crew. Basically, our road crew and their road crew has become one. There's 100 guys out here. They all work together to make the show work 100% in sync with the other band. Their set was designed so that our set, they fit together, so that everything comes off the stage and goes on the stage really quickly. There's always, you know, you have like support bands. Support bands can take 30, 45 minutes to get their gear off. Our stuff comes off in 15 minutes.
There you go.
So we figured out how to do a double headline tour together, or co-headline tour, whatever you want to call it, and make it just work for everybody.
I like it. And of course, you've been playing rock and roll forever, but you made a transition into radio.
Yeah.
How difficult was that? Or was that something you've always wanted to do?
It's something, you know, if I look back at my, you know, history when I was a kid, I fell in love with radio really young. And I was always fascinated at what the guy was saying and how the music touched me after what they said. And, you know, when I got into rock and roll and started to do a lot of interviews, I just really felt comfortable behind the mic. And I found myself a lot of times doing more of the interviewing than being interviewed. And talking to the DJ about what he likes and, you know, what's new bands he's been turned on to. And it was just a natural progression for me.
And I also like the aspect from a listener standpoint. You tell a lot of stories from the road, and I think that's very important to kind of reach out to the viewers and say what goes on in the daily life of Nikki Sixx.
I mean, I had to be willing to be vulnerable, be completely honest, and realize that, you know, rock stars are just people. Sometimes some of us are trying to deal with reality, and that's kind of pretty funny stuff. You know, me going to a grocery store is actually really funny. Because I really don't know what I'm doing in there because I've spent my life on the road.
Makes two of us.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So I'm very willing to be completely transparent and let everything about me be known. And I think that's part of the innocence and the thing that attracts a lot of people. Me and Carrie Casey, my co-host, are willing to jab at each other and have fun. So you get to see the rock star side of it, you get to see the human side of it, you get to see the parent side, recovery side. There's a lot to it. And, you know, a lot of guys that have gone into radio that are in bands, it's all about rock and roll, rock and roll, rock and roll. And, you know, for a while I get tired of, you know, hearing about that all the time. I want to hear some real stuff that's going on too. Not that rock and roll is not real, but, you know, you got to be a well-rounded host.
One of my favorite segments on your show is actually you guys talk about upcoming shows that night. Would you DVR it? Would you watch it? Or are you going to pass on it? I mean, is that one of your ideas on that?
That one was Kyle Kreis, one of our writers. He comes up with great ideas and we jam. And it's very much like a think tank before we do the show. We sit around and we jam. You know, what happened to you today? What have you been thinking about? What pissed you off? What are you in love with? You know, Kyle's a stand-up comedian, so he'll always have kind of a funny,
pretty witty guy,
pretty witty and interesting slant on stuff. So sometimes I'll come in and say something, and he'll say something that makes me laugh about a very serious subject, and we'll bring it out and we'll talk about it. And it's pretty much, you know, we're just flying by the seat of our pants a lot of times too.
Well, it sounds great, and it's very popular in all the markets that you're in.
Yeah, it really is. We've gone to mornings in a few cities, and that's our goal, is to go to mornings. For me, the dream is some version of a chair that looks like a cross between Ryan Seacrest and Howard Stern.
I was going to say, is TV in your plans? I mean, I think you would be a great host for a show like American Idol, because you would take it from a different standpoint. Now that Steven Tyler's left, is this something that would ever interest you?
I mean, no, people have talked to me about it. I don't know if right now is the right time or not, but I do know that television is something that I would like to do in the future if there was the right setup. And we've had talks with production companies and etc. And it's a little early right now. You know, I'm gone all summer. We're talking about what's going on next year. Molly's working on, well, we just released our first song in a long time, called Sex, and we gave it away for free. We're playing it out on the road. Want to make some new music. The radio show is a big passion of mine. You know, I've released 2 books as an author without ghostwriters or anything, and writing is very important to me in photography and fashion design. So I'm very busy, and things have to be planned way in advance so that I can do them and do them right, because I think that the listener or the person that picks up a book or a person who's coming to a concert deserves 100%, not just a hodgepodge of some guy that's just trying to do a million things.
There you go. Well, as you can see, Nikki Sixx here in Houston gives 100% for everything he does. Continue to guide and support this guy. From Houston, Brian Glenn, Fox 4 News.